Olá, sou Thaís Moretti, falando de Xangai, China, e hoje eu estou aqui com duas convidadas super especiais, a Heather e a Itee, da empresa Loop Swim. Elas fabricam biquíni aqui na China usando materiais recicláveis como garrafas PET. Eu vou conversar com elas e a gente vai conhecer melhor essa história. Welcome to the show, Heather and Itee.
Thank you so much. It's great to meet you.
What is Loop Swim?
We started Loop Swim basically as a way to create swimsuits that would be made out of recycled materials. So we noticed when we first came to China that there wasn't a lot of high quality swimwear options, and swimming was just beginning to be popular. People were starting to go on beach vacations, go to Thailand and Bali. And so we thought there was really an opportunity. I come from Southern California, like beach communities, and it just seemed like a great way to do something that was sustainable fashion, but that was also going to serve a need here where there weren't a lot of great quality swimwear options.
What is sustainable fashion?
Sustainable fashion, I would say, is something that makes an impact that is easily negated, right? Because at the moment, the fashion industry is geared towards production and producing more and more and more garments, because they assume that there is this demand for these garments, which is actually not true. Otherwise, there wouldn't be wasted garments that were being burned all around the world, right? That are incinerated at the end of any season. So sustainable fashion starts from the basics, in the sense that where are the resources coming from? Do the resources already exist, or do they have to be made brand new? Is there a way for the resources to be recycled from other resources that are in the recycling bin? Then it comes to the question of labor. How is this labor that is helping produce these garments being paid for? And who is this laborer? Is he above the age of 18? Has he had access to education? Is he being paid fair wages? Is he able to afford food and clothing and shelter and education for the rest of his family? And then finally, what happens to this garment once it's produced and is manufactured and is sold to a customer? Does the customer have a means of recycling this garment after they have used it for all of its useful life to them? Because as a consumer, if you own a garment that's high quality, are you able to then give it back to an organization that will help it be used by somebody else? Or are you able to send it back to a manufacturer that will be able to shred down the garment to its basic components, and then these components can be recycled for other uses?
And this is the mission of your company, is to produce these bikinis, take this opportunity if people are traveling, going to Bali, and also connect with the mission to protect the environment and the
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing we noticed early on is that people like divers and swimmers really notice the effects of climate change firsthand. Because, I mean, if you're living in Australia and you're near the Great Barrier Reef and you've seen a third of those corals bleached and died over the last, decade, then you really have a front row seat to what climate change is actually, how it's affecting our oceans. And so we found that there's that immediate connection between ocean conservation and people who have sports related to the ocean. And also because of all the plastic that goes into the ocean every year, most of which originates on land, we love that we're using something that that instead of going to the ocean could go into garments, into a new cool product. And so it kind of is two birds with one stone, getting people to first of all recycle, and then second of all buy products that don't negatively affect the environment.
And they are comfortable, these bikinis. How do you feel? I never tried this bikini made from PET.
This is such a good question, because this is the question we always get asked, and always our consumer comes up to us and it's like, oh my God, this is so soft. They really expect like it will be like something
pokey.
Actually, yeah. They imagine that the plastic bottle has been broken down, so it's all these little shards and they're somehow going to penetrate you, but that's not true. Any kind of polyester-based garment that you're buying that is made from polyester yarn blended with any other yarn, the polyester yarn itself is a byproduct of the petrochemical industry. And a plastic bottle is also one of the byproducts of the petrochemical industry. So what we aim to do is all these plastic bottles, a million of which, or
a million a minute,
a million
around the globe,
are bought around the globe, right? So essentially, if you just took these bottles and you use them for you recycle them, and what do you use the recycle bits for? There are a lot of different uses for this recycled plastic that comes from these billion bottles being consumed every minute. And this recycled material cannot be used for food grade plastic again. Once it is food grade plastic, it cannot be recycled into food grade plastic. However, it can be recycled into other consumer products which are not going to be ingested directly by the consumer. And clothing is one of them. So once it's been recycled, you can make plastic bags out of it. You can make any kind of plastic container that doesn't hold food in it, right? You can also mix it with concrete and coal to manufacture roads. So roads in India and in the Netherlands are actually blending recycled plastic with other materials to build roads, and they are actually much more durable than regular roads which use coal, because in the heat the roads then don't buckle up. Yeah.
And I was reading they also have other functionalities. This same material is some protective material, or you need other technology to make the...
Right, there's no added chemicals.
Okay.
I mean, this is the cool thing about it, is that most people don't realize that polyester, whether it's recycled or virgin polyester, is naturally sun protective. So actually, like a cotton shirt might be the equivalent of SPF 5 or 10, depending on how tightly woven it is, how thick it is. But the way that we make our sun shirts and our bikinis and our swimsuits, that fabric is actually the highest grade that you can get in terms of sun protection. So it blocks out 98% of the UVA and UVB rays, which a lot of people want to get tan and they don't care. That's not one of their main, one of their main focuses in buying a swimsuit. But, here in Asia, that's been something that's been really important to our customer, is having sun shirts, or people who are in sports, who go diving, who go paddleboarding out all day in the sun.
So this is more
it's naturally sun protective. Yeah.
If you're on a sailboat, you're sailing, you forget to reapply your sunscreen lotion, and your shoulders get burnt or your back gets burnt. That's what our sun protective clothing is for. And especially for kids who hate being lathered up on the beach. That is the biggest problem. Yes.
And the other thing is that a lot of sunscreens actually have chemicals in them that actually kill corals and are really bad for marine life. So the fact that you're kind of eliminating the need for nasty sunscreen chemicals is also a plus in terms of wearing a rash shirt if you're in the water all day long.
Yeah, there are a lot of sunscreens which have been banned by countries like Palau for this reason, because they're detrimental to seawater and sea life. Yes.
It's wonderful. When did you start the company here in Shanghai?
We actually started our company about 10 years ago, but we're both apparel designers. And so we started with women's clothing, and we did sustainable, organic fibers and hemp and, wool, all kinds of sustainable natural fibers. And we weren't keen on using plastic, like recycled plastic. We were like, no, that's not how we want to go. But actually, because it lasts so long, and for swimwear, it's really perfect because you really are just making the same thing out of a recycled product. It was the perfect category for us. So we switched to swimwear about 4 or 5 years ago. So that's how long we've been doing it.
It's wonderful. It's like 10 years in China.
We've both been here about 15 years, actually, like a long time. Yeah, we came with our fashion, like corporate fashion, and then decided to start our own thing once we had more information and experience and knew what we wanted to do.
It's wonderful. And then you have this beautiful mission to give back to the community, to contribute to protect the environment, the skin and everything. And then in this channel, we also have like similar mission to share knowledge with people and help them to fill the gaps they have to go international. Mainly our target audience are small business people who have their business in Brazil and they are thinking to internationalize their company so they can get inspired by people like you. And then I have some specific questions, business oriented, to help them. Like, well, how much is your bikini?
So our bikini, you can buy the top and the bottom separately. So the top is $64 and the bottom is $64 and together it's $128.
This is the average price of a bikini in China. How do you fix the price?
We have fixed the price according to the fact that we want it to be sustainable. In the sense, it has to be a price that is able to pay the cost that doesn't run the resources to the bottom of the barrel. We want to source from factories that are paying their laborers fair wages, right? We want to source fabric and pay for fabric that is actually sustainably produced and has certification for it. There is a lot of greenwashing all around us. Companies claim to be something that they are not. If you took a loop swim swimsuit and sent it back to our supplier, Reprieve, they will be able to run it through a scanner and tell you exactly if the yarn used is recycled PET from Reprieve or not, because their yarn has this tracer running through it, and we don't get that certification. So just like if your company uses Lycra and you get that Lycra tag, you get that Lycra tag because Lycra is able to certify that your garment actually used Lycra and not some other regular spandex. And similarly, if you want to use Reprieve recycled PET, you have to send your garments after manufacturing to them on a random basis for inspection, and then they inspect it, and only then do you get the tag attached to your final product. So in order to never go for the bottom of the barrel, whether it's in terms of the resources that we use, whether it's in terms of the factories that we use, so that everybody is paid a fair price along the way, that is the goal and the mission. And this price of a bikini is based on that goal and mission. And also, we are a social enterprise, but we are for profit. One of the goals of Loop Swim is to show people that sustainability can be profitable. As soon as you make something non-profit, there is a stigma attached to it. There is no stigma actually attached to making something sustainable, and this is something that I'm very passionate about. There is actually no resistance from the consumer into making something more eco-friendly and sustainable. There is, however, a huge stigma around product that is non-profit for entrepreneurs that want to start businesses, because they're like, if there is no profit in this, nobody will follow this trail. And it is true. So if you really want people to find value in sticking and aligning themselves to sustainability and to this mission, you have to be for profit and yet be a social enterprise that really gives back to the community that you're coming from and the planet that's resources you're using.
Yeah, that's true. I think I always say to my Chinese, to my Brazilian people in Brazil, in China you can find everything, like all prices, all qualities, everything. If you search in Taobao right now, you can find bikinis from $2 to $200, $2,000.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to select your niche. And I think this is very interesting. You be careful about your suppliers. You made your choices. Don't go price oriented. You chose a niche of people who care more about environment and other things. I think it's and what about the target market? Like you focus more on Chinese people or in the expat communities, or you go global?
I think in the beginning, the recycled dialogue sort of resonated more with people who are international travelers and have had conversations around sustainability for a longer period of time. And so, but now I would say like our bigger market is China. We definitely ship globally. We're a global company.
The Chinese people,
at least half of our sales
aware of this.
At least half of our sales are here.
And also our retailers are here. So Heather,
absolutely. I mean, and also I feel like because swimming and beach vacations and resort vacations, those kinds of things have become much more popular here. So we tend to partner with a lot of luxury hotels and resorts that are either near the ocean or have pools. And so that's where we really intersect with those families. And because they're staying at these hotels that have staff that can tell the story, that's also part of the education initiative, is to have people.
But some people think that Chinese don't care so much about the environment. They have this stigma that Chinese pollute the environment. They are not seen as the people.
I mean, actually, we've been here long enough that we feel it's kind of the opposite, in the sense that, I mean, China, I think, was the most sustainable nation on earth in the sense that people save everything. You know that if you put anything outside, it's like taken up immediately. Like people recycle and save everything. Obviously, this generation, right now and the generation before them have grown up with enormous wealth, especially in China's major cities. And so with that wealth comes a big education and responsibility to learn about consumerism and being mindful. And I think it's starting to turn the corner a bit about people, first of all, not wanting what everyone else has. So there is more interest in niche brands and smaller designers because, they don't want the same Louis Vuitton bag that absolutely everybody has. I think we're kind of past that stage for the most part. And people are definitely more interested in where things are coming from now. But that has changed. That has changed a lot, even in the last 10 years, I would say. So yes, I think multinationals come here and create a lot of pollution. China has, been the workshop of the world for so many decades. But that attitude is really changing, and people are very conscious about creating pollution and wanting to fix, any of those polluting systems. And so I think it's going to turn pretty fast towards sustainability here.
I also want to speak to the point of view of this thing that, this happens in China, or this is like this is a China specific problem of like people don't care about the environment. Actually, this is true for majority in every country, unless you're talking about some super developed first world European country. This is even true from the US, for the US, which is where Heather is from, actually, because people really do not pay attention to how much they are buying. Because it's sustainable, and because every now and again things go on sale, people just have this habit of consuming. This is not something that is actually the fault of the consumer also. This has been perpetuated by brands. This has been perpetuated by businesses that are looking to just sell. So unless the change really comes from that side of the community that is targeting this person who is just like being fed information, you can't really blame the population for it. I think it's very unfair actually to target countries like China or India or Brazil where the population is huge. So the target market is huge, and that's why the world is paying attention to them, because that's where the future consumer is, and that's where the wealth is growing right now. I feel this spotlight is really unfair on these countries because first of all, they are the ones who could make major changes considering how many people there are, and secondly, because they have always consumed way less. They have lived on resources way less than first world countries. Even if you look at the US or Canada or any of these countries, they are still consuming 10, 20
way
times
more per capita.
Yeah, the carbon footprint is way higher. The per capita carbon footprint is way higher than a country like China or India.
Yeah, great. We learned a lot. Like when you are in the market, like here in China, you see all these changes and you understand the consumers better. That's why I think it's so important to have a local presence here. Don't just export, because you don't understand the Chinese people, right? This information, for instance, I think is new for many people. But tell me about the production process. You buy the fibers here.
We do. We actually buy it from the yarn stage. So we buy the actual yarn from Reprieve, which is the recycled, the name of the recycled yarn. And then we combine it with a spandex that's chlorine resistant. So then it goes to the fabric mill. Everything is in China. Yep. All the bottles that are recycled in our fabric are domestically sourced at this point. They didn't used to be. They used to be brought over from the West, but actually now it's all domestic bottles that are being recycled. And we basically have control of the process from the time it becomes we make our own fabric. So we have a specific
So you buy the yarn from one Chinese supplier, and then you do the fiber.
And then we make it into the yarn, and then we make it at the mill into either a knit fabric with
How many
stretchy.
factories in the process?
Well, the recycle part of it is one that's kind of before the supply chain. It's very long. I mean, that's the thing most people don't realize is, clothing is super complicated. So you have, the yarn, and then the knitting factory or the weaving factory. And then you have the dyeing mill where the fabric goes to either be a solid dye or it goes to a printing mill where you actually print on the fabric, and then to the garment factory. And so we do all of that in the south of China.
All these, you have a partnership with these factories, or
we
you just
do.
do a sponsor?
We do.
And we visited it. That's the main
right.
thing.
That's the best thing about being here is you're really sitting right on top of your supply chain, and you can really get to know the people who are working in the factories and making your product. And I mean, there's still lots of mistakes, even though we're here. Like things always, things still go wrong.
I've visited so many factories also. In
There's a lot.
The tradings, and I know.
It's such a human process, which is partly what we love about it. But it's not always smooth.
Variables.
Exactly. So from the garment factory, then it ships to our distribution center here in Shanghai. And then we go from there.
And you were American and you were Indian, and
Yeah.
you designed the bikinis, both of you.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
you
Itee does all of the designs.
you do
I'm
all the
more on
design.
operations. I'm a designer by education, but and
So you're-
career.
for
But now,
shapes, yes, we both design the prints. I do mostly, and Heather does most of the operations. Yes, yeah.
So you sell
the
more.
final shape comes from both of us. Like, what will this bikini look like? Yeah.
So it's designed by Indian and produced in China. This is
No.
how. Oh, you don't buy the
So
regular.
we say
it's a total mashup.
Yeah, it's a total mashup. Yeah, like I said earlier in the chat downstairs. Yeah, I made a print, but then we changed it according to the feedback we get from everybody. And our team, she's American, but we also
You
have
also
Chinese
have more people.
Yeah, we have a Chinese colleague and everything, so everybody gets to stay. Yeah.
And I think that what we're going for is a more timeless approach to it. Like we're trying to create like not only silhouettes, but also the designs themselves that you would still want to wear in like 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
And we love that idea of like a signature print. Like you can see it coming down the beach and you're like, that's, that's identifiable with the brand.
I was going to ask next.
Yeah.
Because, we talked a lot about the materials and the production process, but about the design.
Mm-hmm.
You had to adapt to the Chinese market because they are more conservatives or not? Or how do you see this?
Well, we both felt strongly that we wanted to do slightly more modest swimwear just because, first of all, a lot of our clients are just super active people. So they're not necessarily going to the beach to lay down, but they want to, be running around. We have surfers and beach volleyball players and divers. And so, we were dealing with pretty much an active clientele, chasing children, whatever, So we wanted something that was comfortable and could really move with a woman. And sometimes it could multitask. So we have, like a top that you could also wear to do yoga, and you can swim in. So we tried to make it so that you could pack it all in your suitcase and it could really do a multitask job. So it is more modest. When we went to Brazil, we just loved, just all the styles and the colors and the options. It was amazing. It was totally phenomenal.
Style bikini. I don't see many Brazilian style bikinis here because I live in China for 5 years.
Yeah,
if I want to shop, I don't see.
No,
it is definitely more conservative still. Like even a bikini is kind of a new thing. Yeah. Like we still sell a lot of one pieces here or our rash guard shirt with a bikini bottom. So I think, it's starting to move. Like Hong Kong is starting to sell cheekier bikinis, so it's moving.
Taiwan too, actually.
In that direction a little bit, but I think for the most part, it's still a little bit more modest.
This is one advice for if the bikini companies are watching us, one advice is they should adapt their design.
Definitely.
On the other hand, though, I wish more people would adapt like the body positivity of Brazilians. We were at the beach. What blew us away was just that you had every body type out there wearing bikinis, it was awesome. I think that was phenomenal because coming from California, I feel like people are very, very self-conscious and it's just not, it doesn't have the same vibe. Like we felt like in Brazil, we were staying in Rio, so we were at Ipanema and Copacabana, like I know the touristy beaches, I'm sure, but we were just blown away that everybody really was a bikini body and that people were just felt so free and confident in their own skin.
Yeah, we ride bicycles.
Yes,
bikini.
So it's kind of a mix, It's like, maybe Brazilian, if Brazilian swimwear designers want to like export more, then maybe offer a few other styles, but also the other way around.
Definitely try to bring the Brazilian vibe here.
Yeah, the vibe.
The
so
vibe
the
of like, be free in your body, own it, and enjoy it.
Yeah, because it's not just the perfect body.
Yeah,
you see
you
people,
only have one body. Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Dears, we're approaching the end. It's wonderful to talk to you. I feel very inspired. Your brand is fantastic. I want some samples to show to them. But give a final advice for the audience. If they want to start a business in China, is there any other recommendation you want to share before we finish?
I think that, starting a business here is a wonderful idea because, it is such a market where people love to adapt new ideas. People love to try new things. So that's something that is super exciting. It's a totally different mentality, I find, than when I go back to the United States and people, it just feels so slow by comparison, because I feel like, you know, people here always want to know what's new. And so they are really paying attention to, you know, smaller brands and designers. And so it's a great time to come here. But like you said, I think it's important to be on the ground here, at least for some period of time, so you get a sense of like, first of all, everyone buys things on mobile. It's not so much in person. So you have to, you know, really hone that digital experience. Yes. That's a really huge part of the game here. KOLs, KOCs, that network also works a little bit different here. Live streaming, there's just formats that people buy are a little bit different. So I think coming here and understanding more of how that works and how people shop is a really important part of the process.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Everything from toilet paper to bikinis are bought on Taobao. So you have to figure out, and you have to have the capital to branch out on digital in that scale. Yeah, because you might think that, you know, oh, I just need this one person who's web savvy and will sit in the office and build this up. It doesn't work like that.
Essa foi então nossa conversa com a Heather e com a Itee da empresa Loop Swim. Espero que vocês tenham gostado e continuem conectados no nosso canal. Tem mais um monte de conteúdo exclusivo para vocês. Sigam também a gente nas redes sociais, o nosso Instagram, e-FeitoNaChina, e o meu Thaís Moretz. Para conteúdos mais aprofundados, mandem um e-mail para info@thaiconsulting.com. Muito obrigada e até a próxima.